time we will make him, present this in person. Sorry about that. So to start with, first of all, thank you NASCOM for organizing this webinar, and specifically the mobility challenge overall, because that's the area where Ford is investing its lot of money and time, right? And you will see some of those glimpses as I take you through the slides, right? So let's begin. So this is Model T, right? In case some of you do not know. So this was the first vehicle that Ford launched commercially, and it was a huge success, right? So the 20th century belonged to automobiles, right? So ever since this first Model T rolled off the production line, and Ford Motor Company opened the highways to all mankind, right? And the cities at that point in time were designed around and for the cars. But if you see today, the situation has changed almost upside down, right? So you can see that today cities around the world take only up about 2% of the surface area, but houses more than half of the world's population, right? So if we talk about India today, 429 million people live in urban areas, and this is expected to increase to 600 million by 2030. That's a huge increase, right? Then if we talk about the economic part, so the growth in the income will transform India from a bottom of the pyramid economy, so basically developing economy, to a truly middle class led one, right? With consumer spending growing from $1.5 trillion today to about 6 billion by, sorry, it should be 6 trillion, sorry, 6 trillion by 2030, right? And if we talk about the growth, right? So this rapid growth and urbanization has led to the alarming statistics, right? So 21 of the world 30 cities with the worst air pollution are in India. So with the Ghaziabad or the NCR topping up the list. And this rapid growth and urbanization has also resulted in a young and tech-savvy population with an increased disposable income. But millennials are delaying home and car purchases, right? And probably marriages and having children. They are concerned about protecting the environment. So what they would do is, they would rather buy a cell phone, expensive cell phone, than a car, right? And probably would rather spend money on experiences than products. And most interestingly, there is no longer a stigma around sharing. We are becoming a more and more sharing economy. We are sharing everything from our daily lives through Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok, right? And even homes through Airbnb, and our cars through Uber and Zoomcar. So all these factors are making enterprising Indian rethink the city around them. So that's where we belong today. So if I move to the vision of Ford Motor Company, so this personal mobility has long been a liberating force that has steered human progress and shaped our existence. It, however, faces an imminent threat from overcrowded cities, overburdened mass transit, and alarming population levels in the not so distant future. One thing is clear: today's mobility model will not work tomorrow. This is why we at Ford are so focused on helping build the cities of the future to solve many of these issues. So Ford was built on a belief that freedom of movement drives human progress. It is a belief that has always fueled our passion to create great cars and trucks. And today, it drives our commitment to become the world's most trusted mobility company, helping people move more safely, confidently, and freely. We will have to fundamentally change, sorry about that, today's transportation paradigm, so cities can effectively absorb expected population increases and still maintain the freedom of movement and quality of life. So what is our vision, right? So for a city to be truly smart, it should also be green, sustainable, and emphasize the quality of life. At Ford, we recognize that a collective effort is needed to address the evolving mobility needs of people. We believe that each city has its unique set of challenges, The challenges in Delhi are not the same as Mumbai or Chennai or Bangalore. For the first time in a century, we have mobility technology that won't just incrementally improve the old system, but can completely disrupt it. A total redesign of surface transportation system with humans and community at the center. Now I'm going to play a video. I'm not very sure whether the sound will reach you. I'm so sorry. It's about, I think, 2 minutes. We couldn't get the text done for the video on time. I'm really sorry about that. Please try to make the best out of it, whatever I can present through this video. Okay, moving next. So this is the future of mobility, what we believe. So the future of mobility will be connected, autonomous, shared, electric, and of course smart. So in this presentation today, I'll be focusing more on sharing and connectivity. So what we have done is we have created the first open cloud-based platform, which we have named as Transportation Mobility Cloud, in short TMC, and that connects and empowers tomorrow's mobility systems. It will connect the diverse components of urban mobility systems, specifically the connected cars, and it's not only Ford, from all automakers, mass transit, pedestrians, city infrastructure, and service providers. And our goal is to orchestrate a safer, more efficient, and sustainable transportation network. So let's talk about connectivity. So right from offering Bluetooth a decade ago to voice-enabled sync, Ford cars have introduced intuitive technologies that elevate customer experience. In line with this vision, Ford is now democratizing in-car technology by offering the connected car solutions across the model range free of cost. So off late, you might have seen some advertisement in India for Ford Pass. This is an application globally we rolled out a couple of years back. So Ford Pass is our globally renowned mobility and connectivity solution in one-stop shop smartphone application that allows owners to remotely access their vehicles, seek breakdown assistance, and more. Ford owners with connected vehicles will be able to perform several vehicle operations like starting, stopping, locking, and unlocking a vehicle remotely via this app. So I'm proud to say that today in India's 100% Ford lineup is connected to the Ford Pass, right? So this is the most recently launched Ford Endeavor, and it's all BS6 compliant Ford model, will come up with this factory fitted cloud connected device that will communicate with vehicle owners in real time via the Ford Pass smartphone application. Now let's move to the sharing. So I'll share again another video. Sorry about the sound once again. So you will see in this video how at Ford we are just not making vehicles anymore. We are trying to help, make our cities more safer, more decongested, and more accessible. This video is more in Indian context, so hopefully it will be easier for you to connect. Okay, just a quick recap a little bit because I'm sure you couldn't hear the audio behind this video, right? So all the things that you see here are actually real. So Office Ride, we are completing the second anniversary like 2 weeks from now. And this is right now operating in 5 cities in India, Chennai, Pune, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Cochin, right? So, and the other thing is the last mile connectivity. We are operating in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai. Right. So these are some of our, I would say, scale operations that we are doing apart from many other experiments, which we cannot share publicly at this point in time. Right. So to move ahead. So this is our vision, right? So we want to partner with the cities or countries to build the cities of the future, right? So the way the world gets from a point A to point B, experiencing its biggest disruption since the first Model T rolled off, from the production line at the beginning of the 20th century. So now the change is coming, and tomorrow's mobility solutions will demand collaboration, not just from automotive and technology companies, but also with the governments, local leaders, and citizens, right? So we need our cities to become more efficient, safer, healthier, to comfortably accommodating growing populations. But this is also a chance to create something more. to improve people's lives and create better experiences. Together, we have the potential to transform the cities and our lives. So with that, that's kind of the end of my presentation. We can open for questions. And as a next, I will share the two use cases that we have floated as a part of this mobility challenge. So can we have the questions, please?
Yeah. So yes. So I request everyone, if they have any questions, they can ask in the question section. Hi. So can you guys hear me? Rupam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Um, have we enabled audio for everybody, or they will type in the chat?
They would have to type. So I've requested everyone to type in your questions. Uh,
Okay.
so I'll request everyone, if they have any questions, they can ask over here. Uh, okay. So here is the first question, Rupam. Need to know what is going to secure passenger security in ride-sharing mobility.
Okay. So security by definition, right, is actually different country to country. So specifically for India, I think, given our probably economic situation or our social, I would say, practices, the security is certainly important, but it has a very different meaning than what is a security in the US, right? So if I talk about specifically in Indian context, what we are trying to do as a part of our security measure is a framework where a central office can be alerted the moment there is some problem somewhere, because right now in India, communication itself is a big problem, right? So today we witnessed this, an historic event of hanging of these four convicts of the 2012 case. And if you see, those victims were actually lying on the roadside at least for 30 minutes, right? There are different numbers, but at least they were lying there for a good amount of period. So our first priority from the technology standpoint, and because I lead the product here, so my first priority is to implement seamless communication, right? Government of India recently has already proposed AIS 140. Actually, that is something bare minimum what we are doing, but we are going above and beyond. So any application that we are launching, there is a SOS button, and we have the backend infrastructure to monitor the situation whenever there is an SOS activity, right? So if you go to our Office Ride app, the moment you are live on a vehicle, the SOS button becomes very prominent on the app screen, right? So similarly, in our mobile ticketing solution as well, we are thinking something innovative, which is not yet live, by the way, so I cannot speak too much about it. But we are preparing for, we are working on a very innovative solution. How can we implement a similar security infrastructure for people who are taking metros in the cities where we are kind of, using our mobile ticketing platform?
Right. 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 So, Rupam, while everyone gather their questions, why don't you share a couple of the use cases that you would be working with?
Sure. Yeah, let me do that. Okay. So I'll be sharing exactly the same format that has been published in the website so that there is no confusion.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so let me take you through one by one, right? So we have two cases that we have published here. So the first one is around scheduling and monitoring the movements of vehicles. And the problem statement is how might we better predict and plan vehicle movements in the Indian cities, ensuring on-time pickups, right? As you might have already seen that Office Ride is actually an enterprise offering. What it means is time is more important than probably money, right? Or maybe any other factor. But having said that, The challenges on the Indian road, right? After staying in this business for last 2 years, what we have understood that the so-called developed country solutions, specifically Google Map or Waze or anything like that, right? We are not achieving probably more than 80 or 90% accuracies. But how can we go beyond that, right? And I'm sure most of the mobility companies in India are facing, right? So that's why I thought of throwing this out to the community and see if somebody has better idea where we can have some partnership together, right? So if I think about it again, this is our experience. The variable factors, it is coming specifically from the two pieces, right? Or two angles. The first one is the variability in the real world itself, and I'll start with the most difficult one, and I'll probably go to the most easier one, right? So the very first thing is traffic condition. Indian traffic condition is just I think super complicated compared to even China or even US, right? So I cross two toll gates every day when I go to office, and I pretty much go almost at the same time every day. Pretty much is a very different behavior, and it's not even repeated, right? I cannot say even on a Monday is always same, or Tuesday is always same, or 8 o'clock is always same, or 9 o'clock is always same. To be frank, I have not figured out after driving that route for 3 years now. So let's see if technology can help us, right? Similarly, two driver behavior things, right? Which is very common. If you any of you have taken Ola or Uber, I'm sure you would agree to this, right? That there are different driving styles. Some are aggressive and some are not, right? So and then if I talk about a distance of say 10 to 15 kilometers, it easily brings say at least about 5 minutes of difference, right? And then the other driving behavior is the drivers who are probably very well versed with the local condition. They will suddenly detour, go to an inside route, and basically a Google will throw you out of your window, right? But they will say 5 minutes at the end of the day. So whatever Google was saying before the detour, they will end up saying, saving 5 minutes for you. But in between, if I see Google Maps, right, the ETA is completely not realistic at all, right? Similarly, vehicle type and condition, because specifically if I talk about office ride, we have like 30-seater buses, 12 or 18-seater tempos, and we have the smaller vehicles as well, the sedans, right? But again, the time, it differs by vehicle types, right? Then the trips, that most of these trips are scheduled back to back, and if there is a delay in the previous shift, it kind of just screws up probably at least next 2 to 3 trips, right? And the other thing is, if I talk about any mapping service, we have tried Google, we have tried Map My India, we have tried Here Maps, nobody can actually very effectively track the temporary change in the road condition. So we wanted to try Waze as well, but we didn't get the critical mass here that to crowdsource some of this information. So we are clueless. How can we better solve this, right? And lastly, which is probably easier to solve, is rain versus shine. We become much slower in rain compared to a regular, a shiny day. And if I talk about the data, right? Because once I have the things running, I'm dependent on data. So in India specifically, I think after Jio has launched their services, thanks to Jio, uh, most of the networks are actually becoming more choppy, right? Maybe because of the investment and the ROIs, but we are having a lot of data connectivity problems. Is there any solution that people can think of, right? How can we do that? Edge computing, we tried a little bit, not helping a lot, because it's just in a few minutes we become like dark spot. Then what do we do during those few minutes? Then the device quality. If we say, for example, if Ola and Uber also right now, they depend on the device of the driver partners, and those are not typically a very, I would say, high precision ones, right? What can I do for that? Because the lower device quality means the incorrect GPS coordinates, right? And last but not the least, sabotage, right? If you are a Swiggy customer, I think you would know, time to time you will get you will become the victim of this sabotage, right? So they will switch off the hardware, or they will use fake GPS or something like that. So how we deal with these kind of situation to manage my overall fleet? So that's basically the first problem. Again, let's open the floor for some questions if there is any.
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, any one of you have any questions regarding anything, like be it mobility challenge, be it these use cases, or be it from Rupam? You can pin it down in the question section. Or if okay. So what, Rupam, one of the attendee would want a comment from you on the 5G towards. I mean, how could you use 5G in the mobility? I mean, in the mobility sector, or more towards cars.
Yeah, so 5G will actually open up, I would say, I don't know how many X, but I would almost say it's exponentially open up the market for mobility. Because, see, finally, as I mentioned in my sharing, right, the slides, connectivity is key.
Yes.
So one thing is by geography, how much of the area is connected today, and the second thing is the speed, right? And 5G will improve both of them. Again, I cannot share many things because those belongs to our research and development piece, and I'm not authorized to talk in public. But we are really betting super high. The only problem is 5G is still at least years away for markets like India. It's not going to come at least in 21 probably, right? So whatever problem I have floated in this challenge is pretty much for the now and the near term, not for the far term. 5G for me is still a far term thing, but we are on it.
Yeah. So one more question is what do you see for electric vehicles in India? I mean, what is your take on that?
Electric vehicle in India, the biggest challenge is infrastructure.
Right.
So if you talk about China, I think today we have almost about 400 models of electric vehicles on the market, right?
Right.
And this whole game is actually supported by a heavily funded program by the government,
Right.
right? So they kind of come here, come to your home, freely install the electric vehicle charging kit. They have invested heavily on the charging infrastructure, across the cities, because the biggest problem is the charging. Because even if you talk about, say, fuel, right? Will you be comfortable to drive a vehicle in a city where there is only one or two petrol bunks, right? And a
Yeah.
bigger problem in the electric vehicle is the range, right? Even today, the range is probably not more than 250 kilometers if you put the AC on, right? But the moment somehow we can address this infrastructure problem, trust me, the electric vehicle market will explode. That's the word I can use.
Okay. Okay.
And I will not open up too much. We are working on something to bring about 1,500 vehicles on the road, which will use basically an office ride. And those will be more or less like not exactly Ford branded, but we are partnering with somebody, right,
Yeah.
to make this electric vehicle movement happen. So we are also trying to kind of influence that indirectly.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, that's very good to hear. Question is factory rollout or showrooms fitted with OEM telematic devices with security, touch screen, infotainment, and mobile mobility sharing app. Pre-installed devices can solve the problem that you're seeing with Ola and Uber. Okay. So is there any plan to do this kind of program from Ford?
Yeah, I think I quickly shared that, right, when I showed the picture of the Endeavor. So
Yeah.
all the vehicles, the BS6 compliant vehicles, are also fully connected. So it
Right.
has an embedded SIM. We are providing 3 years of free data connectivity, and it completely integrates with the sync system, which is on board the vehicle, and also syncs to your mobile device, which is the Ford Pass application.
Right. Okay.
So that's
Okay.
already a reality for all the Ford vehicles that is on the market as we speak right now.
That's, I guess that answers your questions, Pratyush. So yes, with this, Rupam, I guess we would close down today's session. I mean, it was great hearing.
Um, hey, I have one more use case. Shall I do
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Please, 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 please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, because we
Okay.
floated two use cases this time. Right.
Yeah, sure.
So this is about the vehicle identification. So basically, as the vehicle is moving on a crowded road, and improving the commuter onboarding experience. So if I specifically talk about office ride, as I mentioned, most of the vehicles are actually slightly bigger. Average size is about like 12-seater vehicles we are using. So it has to onboard couple of vehicles, couple of people, right, along the way. And we are facing certain challenges in terms of identifying the vehicle and the driver kind of recognizing the customer, right? So the problem statement here is, how might we reduce missed pickups by vehicles running with a scheduled ride by enabling commuters and drivers to identify each other for a smooth boarding into the vehicles, right? So some of the barriers that we've kind of faced and we have heard from our customers is, hey, there is a bumper to bumper traffic and your vehicle was actually behind a big lorry and I didn't see that. And the driver just zoomed in front of me, right? By the time I called the customer care, the driver already went half a kilometer, right? And even in a small vehicle, if it is bumper to bumper traffic, the vehicle number plates are not easily visible, right? Then the other problem is, even though we are providing the location tracking, the inaccurate vehicle location in the mobile app due to various factors like data connectivity or incorrect vehicle GPS coordinate, sometimes this mechanism doesn't work very well, right? It shows that the vehicle is probably 400 meters away, but it just cannot cross the customer, right? And sometimes the driver, he doesn't probably look at his mobile, that where are the passengers are waiting for pickups. They just quickly pass through the route, and they just cross the customer, right? And last but not the least, of course, like Ola and Uber, we also provide call features. But the problem is there are language barriers, specifically in Chennai. Sometimes all the drivers are not very well versed with English. So people like me, when I have to speak, we get into trouble at times, right? Hey, where are you? That communication itself becomes very difficult. Right? So, and the barrier for a driver here is, focus on two things at the same time. So they complain about that, hey, I'm driving in a very bad traffic, and you are asking me to look at the mobile phone, look at outside, if somebody is waving hand, something like that, right? So they get distracted by doing two things. And many of these drivers, they're still getting trained in the technology and the process part. So when we onboard new people into the process, we get more and more complaints from the customer from those routes, right? And sometimes what happens is, the commuter is also probably the customer is not exactly standing at a designated spot, because probably the designated spot is occupied by another vehicle. So the person either stands before the vehicle or after the vehicle, and there is a miscommunication, right? And I was I had a first-hand experience of this last week itself, because I take this service just to get some experience from the route, right? And last but not the least, some customers, they do not prefer to share the numbers due to privacy. So that's where there is some problem. Even if the driver wants to call, the driver is unable to make the call because the number itself is not given due to the privacy concern. So this is our second problem, that we would like to partner with somebody like you and see if we can find a very viable solution. So that's kind of the last from my side.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, Rupam. So yeah. So thank you for today. And it was great hearing you. It was great knowing what Ford has in the box for the coming future in the mobility sector, and also like hearing your thoughts on what's gonna be future overall. So thank you once again. It was great hosting you. It was definitely a very informative session. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shubham.
Thank you. Bye bye.
And thank you, everyone. For Mobility Challenge, you can all visit the website that I've posted in the general comment. I would again be posting that now, and you can get in touch with my colleague Inshira. That her email ID is mentioned in the comment section. I hope to see all of your applications and see you soon.
Yep, looking for more applications. Yep, thank you so much.